Okay, greetings everybody. I'm Marguerite Rigoglioso of Seven Sisters Mystery School, and I want to invite you to this conversation with Jen Hill. Um, Jen Hill is a project development manager in the insurance industry who also happens to have a lot of sensitivities to EMFs, electromagnetic frequencies, and radio frequencies, which famously are emitted by all of our electronic devices. As we are filming this, we're in the midst of the corona crisis, and a lot of people have been going more and more and more online. And some people are liking it, and this may become more and more of a way of life of how we deliver and receive our services. So it's become even more important that we understand about good, what we're calling EMF hygiene, or radio frequency, electromagnetic frequency hygiene. What is the issue? What's the problem? And how can we have some quick remedies in our homes, our home offices, or our offices so that we are not as vulnerable to these frequencies? So, Jen, welcome.
Thank you, Marguerite. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so why don't you tell us a little bit, first of all, about your experience with sensitivity around
Yeah,
EMFs and RFs, because I think a lot of people will identify with you
right.
around this. So give us like the 5 minute snapshot of what's been happening for you, for how long, how this manifests, and why you became concerned about this issue.
Yeah, so it's interesting because my sensitivity started to really heighten about just over a year ago, where I would go into my office and I absolutely couldn't be there anymore. I would feel the like my fingers tingle, my feet would tingle, and I would get this really odd sensation that I really wouldn't get anywhere else. So I started to work from home. And at that time, I had a building biologist come to my house to help remediate it. I had already switched off my Wi Fi. Wi Fi is a really important one to reduce. Um, and at that time, I thought that my sensitivity had only started about 2 years prior. When I was going through a divorce, I was really stressed. I had to move back I was living in Mexico at the time, and I loved living there. And I had to come back to the US, and I was in a temporary situation where I was living in an apartment complex. And it was just like I would look at the Wi Fi signals on my phone, and there were just probably 40 or more, and I couldn't sleep there. One of the real major sensitivities that I had was not being able to sleep. I'd be up all night, and I was panicky about it because I felt if I can't sleep, then I can't do anything. So I would go back to my house in Mexico. My ex-husband was so nice to let me come back. And I stayed there for so long just because I was trying to transition, and I could sleep there and I couldn't sleep here. And so it's just like many people have sensitivities. You feel the difference in the environment. So you know it's something in your environment. So if you feel like you might be sensitive, one of the first things to do would be get out of the environment and just see if your symptoms go away or reduce right away. And that's how it would happen with me. So I'd try to go to sleep in the apartment over here in the US, couldn't go back to Mexico, like this, like just a zone I was in that just was really uncomfortable for so long. Then more recently, I realized that I think I had been sensitive since maybe 5 years prior. And it may have been when I installed Wi Fi into the house. So the first symptom that I noticed that I didn't realize was sensitivity, it first dawned on me, you're kind of like in the zone where you don't really believe that the energy is that harmful because you hear of it, but you're like, whatever. It's kind of a dark side that you don't really, kind of hidden. You don't really, you're busy, you just don't think about it all the time. And I remember when I'd be cooking in the kitchen 5 years before, my head, I could feel the light in my head. And I didn't want to work in there. And I'd be like, what is that? And I had done lots of, of meditation and stuff. So I thought, oh, well, my crown chakra is probably too wide open. So that was one of the main symptoms
But it
pretty early
literally,
on.
It literally was the lights from the kitchen.
It was the kitchen light, was the
And what
actual first symptom that I remember.
were they, a particular like ultra fluorescent, or what was it, just regular incandescent, or?
I just think it was a regular light, but it was like a kind of a pendant, a bigger pendant type of light.
Okay. So you're
Where,
feeling the electrical
yes,
frequencies, the heat.
just from the regular electricity.
Yeah, the regular electricity. Okay, great. So you identified that. Go on. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And so at that time, it was funny because I was kind of dabbling in like how I could create my reality. And I used to pretend that it was like a crystal instead. So in my mind, I was practicing like, how can I change this in my mind? And I felt like it actually kind of worked. But in the end, I feel like with I can still feel electric fields now, but I feel like it might have been more started by the Wi-Fi sensitivity. I was working probably 2 feet from my router then, because that's just where it was. It happened to be by my desk, and I just looked back on that and I went, wow, I can't believe how naive I was. You just look back and go, I can't believe I damaged. I was right next to this for so long, and it just I don't know. I just felt like it was kind of in retrospect more irresponsible now that I know to.
Well, what could you know? What does anyone know? We're not being told this. It's
Right.
minuscule amount of media attention you have to dig to even know that there's a problem. Most people are told they're just crazy, or attributing whatever symptoms are to the wrong thing.
Right,
But
right.
let's look at some of the other symptoms, because I think that a lot of people watching this video are going to be so grateful to hear what some of the symptoms are that they might be having themselves that they have not been able to figure out. So you're saying lack of ability to feeling electrical vibrations, um, uh, literally from lights or other devices.
Mm-hmm.
What are some other symptoms?
Headaches.
Headaches.
Um, Headaches. Yep. You can, if I go outside sometimes and it can just go away right away. So that's another good thing. That's small and not too bad. That if you have a headache and you've been working, you can go outside,
Yeah.
ground yourself, go near plants. That's what I love to do. And it just changes so much. There were times when I was so sensitive that I just had to be outside like so much to try to
Wow.
balance it back. So yeah, for me, it was sleeping, the feeling, the first one was feeling the electric field, and it felt really uncomfortable, just this weird uncomfortable feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, headaches. It's also emotional. You'll feel overwhelmed. I'll feel like I can't, like you can't sleep. Then you don't know, you can't get your stuff done. It's just this snowball effect
Right.
where your life is just kind of like, whoa, it just doesn't feel like you have your life anymore.
Yeah.
I, in Mexico, was very in touch with being so happy and joyful. I was more able to like do my writing, do this, and all of that went away. It was like my whole magical life just went whoosh. And I went, wow, what happened? Is it the divorce? It's a combination of factors, but at the same time, it was like, I couldn't get back to like the fun, joyful. And that's when I knew something really wasn't right. Because I was like, right. Why? I'm in the US now. Is it the US? I mean, because right. I mean, there's so many things I love about Mexico, but I felt like, man, I just could not get back into that feeling of joyful feeling that I feel is more me than anything. Right. Like,
and let's look at the different settings. So in Mexico, did you have a Wi-Fi signal at all, or were you connected directly?
Yes, but I would turn it off at night and I slept better. So that was also another thing. Yeah.
No, that's a really good thing for people to do. Like we have it on 24/7. We even leave our computers on 24/7. So one big thing is turn off the Wi-Fi, turn off the modem, turn off the router, turn off your computer, turn off your phone, you know, unless you have to have emergency calls with elders or children or whatever. turn these devices off at night, and certainly have them in a different room altogether, right? From your
Right.
sleeping, like never have any plugs into, okay. So,
Right.
but Mexico, you probably had a lot of other, the houses were farther apart. People were having Wi-Fi. It wasn't right up your, you know.
Exactly. There was like
Okay.
two I could see. They were weak and it was not a big deal at all. Yeah.
And when you said you came back, you saw 40, a
It was
list
at
of
least.
40 passwords and, you know, Wi-Fi connections on your, you, the 3 bars, and you look down and it's like, oh my God, this means that within a, how big of a radius
Right.
there are these, how big do we have any idea how big of a radius that is with their
No.
40
It
separate
was just so close. And
rows. If they're
yeah.
close enough to be on your list under your bars, it's too close. The
Right.
more you have, the more vibrations are coming into you. And isn't it known, Jen, that when they build offices, they have to take into account with the Wi-Fi signals that it's going to be dampened by not only the building structure, but the people in there. In other words, we're all absorbing this stuff. Like, it's known.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fact. So that means, doesn't that mean when Wi-Fi signal is going through our bodies, and this is not to like get people into fear, right? But it's just to get them into awareness so that they can take remedies, which we're going to talk more about. If Wi-Fi carries all the internet information, the data, the this, the that, and
Yes.
that's what's coming into your computer then translates Wi-Fi into typing and streaming and this and that. That means that all that stuff is going through our bodies.
I know it could be. I think some of it could be. Now, if I also understand that there could be like a shield around us that our bodies have because we are electromagnetic beings, and maybe some can be grounded. That's not my experience though. And so
They're very sensitive. So some people are more
yeah.
dense than others, right? But
Mm-hmm.
you, being kind of a wide open sensitive that a lot of people I work with are
Yeah.
like, and the people that you're trying to communicate this message to, whoa, we might not have those layerings and those shieldings, and also in the physical
Right.
body, because a lot of people have a lot of density in the physical body. So what I'm receiving right now is, if you're eating not well or not even within healthy guidelines, not even eating junk food, but you're still just eating the wrong things, you might have a density in your body that does allow you to cope with the EMFs. But, you know, as we're trying to get healthier and healthier, then all of a sudden we're exposed to these vibrations. We need to do something else, right?
Right. Right.
So,
It's like your life.
okay, so
Yeah.
did you ever get, so focus problems, headaches, did you ever get nausea or eating issues or
Oh,
anything
I
like
have
that?
gotten nausea. Yeah, I have. Not as frequency as frequent, but when someone has come to my house to like do something in the house, like recently, and they have cell phone, I can feel it. It's a cell phone I feel in my stomach sometimes.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
yeah,
it's interesting. And people say, "Oh, I'll just keep my cell phone away from me." I would keep mine, like probably 10 feet from my desk, but I don't keep it on anymore. I keep it on airplane mode because I
yeah,
can feel it. So people are saying, no, just put it like 9 feet away. That's not enough. I can feel it
right.
further. And I, yeah. And a friend of mine with his cell phone, I can feel his in his room. His room is like 20 feet away and I feel it.
And
And it's a
you are like,
weird,
yeah,
and what it is this is a different feeling. It's not a headache. It's a weird sensation in your head.
yeah.
It's something that you don't feel with any other any other situation. I've never felt that sensation.
Yeah, and essentially you're the canary in the coal mine. And I remember, you know, just to verify what you're saying, a young woman that I used to drive with to gospel choir rehearsals when I lived in the Bay Area, she'd be like, we can't use your phone to get the directions to go there because I can feel it immediately. And she was like, I'm like, holy gosh, You know, she would know if it was on. I couldn't trick her.
Right,
Like, oh, it's
right,
not really on. You know, I'm just going to turn it to myself and she can't see it. No,
right,
you knew that it was on. So
exactly.
basically, you sensitives are the canaries in the coal mine about what's really going on. Because even though some of us might have barriers or armoring or not be as sensitive, we're still getting some effects on a longer term basis, right? And
It could be, yes.
this is really critical, especially as 5G is coming in. Now,
Right.
I don't want us to go too far down the rabbit hole of 5G, but can you say the difference between 3G, 4G, and 5G and why we should be concerned about the 5G? And then we're going to talk about what more to do about this. So nobody panic, but we just need to go and get a little bit more information. Yeah, tell us 3G, 4G, 5G, what you happen to know.
I just see it as man-made radiation and natural, like man-made energy and natural energy. I don't see it as a division between 3G, 4G, and 5G because I think 5G is only the wake-up call. Because right now everybody's so distracted, they don't want that installed, but yet, like, you know, less than a mile away from my house, there's tons of cell towers going in on a school ground. So I feel like it's not so much about the 5G. That's just making us finally wake up, just like the coronavirus is making us wake up about certain things. Because when I drive by that cell tower, I don't think it's a 5G cell tower. I feel it. So I just look at it like we're changing the energy in our environment when really the environment that we need is the natural environment. And so it's kind of like in my house, I wanted to reclaim the natural energy. So I had, you know, the Wi-Fi off. I keep my cell phone on airplane mode. You can connect your phone still to the internet. It's really interesting. So I don't have all the app use necessarily, but, you know, WhatsApp I can use through the internet. I don't need to use iMessenger. So you learn how you don't have to use it as much.
Okay.
And then,
Are you saying that when your phone is on airplane mode, you can use those things, or?
yeah, so WhatsApp will still work on airplane mode, just connected, but connected to the internet with a adapter, and you know, obviously you have to have it connected to the internet.
But you have to do that with an actual physical cord.
Yeah.
So in other words, let's go back to cords half the time. Like, you could technically turn off your Wi-Fi altogether if you just cord your computer back into your router or cord your phone back into your router. You don't even have to have Wi-Fi in your personal environment.
Right, I don't.
So that's great. You know, now there could be a run on cords at Amazon. But
yeah.
okay, so would you say though that the 5G is something like an intensification of the man-made frequency? Is it just an amping up or more of it somehow?
What I understand, it's a faster frequency on some of them. Some of them is just a faster frequency. When this happened, when I became sensitive and I started working from home, I got connected with a lady here locally who works for the Center for Electrosmog Prevention. She had had a smart meter injury, and she decided, because of what happened, she heard about me, to put together a work group. And so it was a national work group that I was a part of, and we researched all of the military documents, any kind of documents about the frequencies. And I went through a dark night of the soul at that time because we don't need more testing. It's all there. It's already been tested. I mean, for example, they use some sort of a frequency for crowd control right now and it's on the Department of Defense website. You can see the web page.
Maybe you could give us that web page.
And I don't have it right here, but yeah.
We'll post it under the video.
Okay. And so I really started, I mean, there's a lot of grief. I would cry. I didn't want to be learning all of this because it felt like a lie. And
tell us about the crowd control.
It's just that they can use some frequencies.
What do? How does this work?
They just can use a frequency it sounds like they stun people. They can just use a frequency to make people.
And
Yeah,
so is this like once crowds are gathered, they
I
just
believe so. I
invite
don't
people
know a
to
whole
share?
lot about it. I just remember reading about it and it was on that website really clear. So it kind
Wow.
of
So they could break up without any mace, without firing anything, without, they
it
could break
sounds
up.
like yes.
Holy gosh. Okay. So this is all related, right? So, okay. Um, let's then get into talking more about remedies. First of all, you just named the organization of that woman. What is that? The Center
For
for,
electrosmog prevention.
so people can look that up and see their research and their remedies and their information.
What she did is we put together a kind of like a procedure and protocol for people who are in probably mostly downtown environments where they're next to small cells. So the small cells that they installed, I believe in about 2017, downtown San Diego, for example, people are working so close to those small cells. And I was working next to one for probably a year and a half. And so it helps people through the Americans with Disabilities Act to present to their employer that they want an accommodation to be able to work somewhere else. I didn't actually use it, but she anticipated a nationwide issue, and she helps people because she had a smart meter injury. And so she knows about all the radiation, and she just put together the work group to
And
help
what's her
people with,
name?
her name is Sue Brinkman.
Sue Brinkman. So people can look her up under that organization and consult to her. They can also consult to you for
Mm-hmm.
remediation.
And I could help people with basic, just basic things, but not as a remediator completely because I don't have the professional certification. It's just amazing how people are certified to be able to help you and what they can find just from the experience that they have. I mean, my house is really simple. I only had to remediate one wall with my neighbor. But I'm lucky because I guess I just don't have people that close that I'm getting their radiation, but it can be complicated.
Yeah.
So it's important to have somebody come in and measure if you're really sensitive like I was, because it's you just have to have it done.
Yeah,
It's
they need the little Geiger counters or whatever it is. And
they're
I remember being shocked that when I was at this town hall meeting in San Anselmo, California, and it was about telling the local officials, hey, dangers of 5G, a woman had this little device and she said, touch the button on your phone. And when the light started coming on, the device went zzz, 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 zzz,
yeah,
and the needle went all the way up. She said, this is well beyond carcinogenic level.
right.
I was like, oh my God. So now I'm like, I don't even like to touch my phone too much or keep it too close. And I have something called a Block It Pocket from New
Uh-huh.
Zealand. The company is called, it's Life Energy Designs. And in one pocket, you put your phone and it mitigates the EMFs. In the other one, you put it and it won't even receive calls. That's how much. And you fold it
Great.
over. So
Yeah.
that's just one company that sells a lot of these types of products, and they felt very reputable. I believe they're in New Zealand. If not, it's Australia. And sorry for me for getting it possibly wrong. But I know there are other companies, and there is Beth McDougall in the Mill Valley area of San Francisco, of California, excuse me, Marin County. Her organization, she's an MD, and they have like really advanced naturopathic and other things there. They had a whole event with devices that you could get for your walls and that you could wear and things like that. And these things are supposed to be working. I also know that the Biolumina Spirulina company that I distribute for, um, and that's on my website, the Seven Sisters Mystery School.com under store. If you click on that page and go through my portal, they have a little pendant that you wear. So they, that is supposed to help with this protection, and they and places like Life Energy Designs create these things that you can have closer to your body. I've also received that just wearing an ounce of gold on your body, it can be broken up into all different places on your body, as close to 24 karat as you can, but whatever, anything will help. Let's talk about other remedies that you know of. We've already talked about turning off Wi-Fi phones, getting a good old-fashioned cord to put it into your router and just turn your Wi-Fi off entirely. Um, uh, what else?
Well, you want to make sure that your devices, like even your printer or the Wi-Fi, is off. So I had bought a new printer and I couldn't figure out how to turn the Wi-Fi off of the printer. It's getting harder and harder. They want the smart grid to be able to talk with all of the devices. And so I actually would go in and turn it off through the computer. So, you know, back in the day, there used to be little wireless switches on computers and stuff. And now you have to go into your, like an app for the printer, and make sure you turn it off there. And it's not easy to find. So you have to do a little bit of research. I had to study online how to do this. Finally got it off. But it is important to check them every once in a while, because I noticed it would pop back on. So I have a tiny little meter. It's called Safe and Sound from Safe Living Technologies. I believe the company is called. They're in Canada. And I love it. I just keep it by my desk, and every once in a while I'll just turn it on just to make sure it doesn't pop on, or just keep it unplugged if I'm not going to use it. So, and the printer is just one thing. If you have smart devices in your house, you may want to measure them if you do have sensitivity.
With that little device, you can measure.
With a little device, but it's basically like a stoplight. It'll just show you if it's green, it's natural energy, and then as it goes up to higher and higher, if it's unsafe, more unsafe. But you can get a really great meter called Nakusoo Meter, and that's my favorite meter. And I just carry it around every once in a while. Like once a month, I'll want to check my house. You don't want to get paranoid about it. There is something about not going down the whole rabbit hole and getting paranoid. So you'll want to just check. Like I'll check maybe once a month, just to see how the numbers are. I write it down. I keep a log, because if anything changes, I kind of would want to know sooner than later.
Yeah, and you can keep a log, like in relation to how you're feeling.
Yes.
Like if all of a sudden you were feeling kind of crappy that week, and then at the end of the week, you look at your meter and you're like, oh my gosh, maybe my device has popped back on, or I forgot to turn this off, or maybe somebody moved in and has two Wi-Fis because they have two different roommates now, or, next door, right? Something
well,
like.
And what's happening with the Wi-Fi too, I heard that some of the newer routers, and I don't think I have one, are more like cell towers. They're more, ooh. I forget what they call them. A repeater. I don't know if it's a repeater. But anyway, they're stronger. They're more like cell towers. And so, yeah, you have to be careful. Although the energy that I've measured off of a cell phone can be high. So sometimes, like at my office, it wasn't as high as my cell phone. So that's kind of weird, because my office is downtown, very close to the small cell.
And so the thing about cell phones is you want to have it in a pocket, like a reputable one, not just any old thing on Amazon that may or may not be working. And you will only know once you have that little meter, right?
And so
test it, getting a call, having somebody call you, and seeing whether this is blocking it or not when you have it in one pocket or the other. And the other thing I wanted to say is a lot of people wear these things on their body without anything. Men especially, they put it right at their heart.
I know.
In a pocket. It's the new, remember those things that men used to wear? What do they call it? The, not a slide rule, but they used to have that thing in their pocket. Anyway, it's the new form of that. And it's right at their heart. It's right at here, or it's in their pocket. It's somewhere near their family jewels. You don't want this thing. No. Anywhere near the family jewels. So, and I mean, the one person I personally know, and bless his heart, soul, and spirit, who supposedly died of the coronavirus, um, one of the things that I noticed about him was that he always had this thing right here, like literally on his body, like all day long.
Yeah.
And this whole idea of continually checking your phone and and then you're up like this close to it, right? Looking. And this is your nighttime entertainment and your morning time entertainment.
Right.
Last thing before bed, first thing in the morning, you're pressing this thing and these radiation things are going out and you're scrolling and you're looking for funny things and you're communicating with everybody. Are people better off just going to their computer? Tell us how much radiation a computer releases.
That is more of electric field. If you have your Wi-Fi off, if you have your Wi-Fi off on your computer, it's just more electric field, which some of the newer computers can have a really high electric field. In fact, that comes back to another symptom that I noticed before my sensitivity really just went off the charts, is that I would be on my computer on the weekend just doing a random thing, and I would be like, I can't be on my computer anymore. I have to go outside. I cannot be here. I can't. It was just such a strong, can't be here.
Right.
So I would just stop and go and do something else. Now my computer is a metal computer, and they're making a lot of the metal. Right now I'm working off of an older plastic computer, and it doesn't bother me. So it's like the older computers seem to have less power or less, the structure of them is something different with the plastic maybe. And it just is not as, to me, destructive to me, to my body.
It's not as conductive.
Right, not as
Right?
conductive.
So the metal is more likely to transmit these vibrations and frequencies out to you.
Right. So I wanted to mention a couple of things about the cell phone, just because those are what everybody's carrying everywhere. You're right about that block it pocket. You can't use in my opinion, can't use a cover that's not completely surrounding the phone. Because if the signal can get to it, that means that the radiation is coming out. So that's one real important thing. Can you hear me?
Okay, so if the signal can get to it, yeah.
So the block it pocket is amazing because yes, you want to be able to have times where you just don't get the signal at all, because then the phone is not giving off that signal to you. You're not in the field.
Okay.
The other thing is that there are I've tried a couple other type of sticker situations. Like it was it actually had I think it was it Ormus? I don't know. It was some kind of neat device a long time ago that I had on my old cell phone that had not an Ormus, orgone generator that I had on my phone. Now I don't know if it worked, but with the people who are really great remediators that are very reputable, they say you can use something like that, but you still have to cut down everything as much as you can. It might be icing on the cake to have a crystal, or because this thing had crystals in it, on your phone, or a sticker that supposedly helps. Those are not able to be tested by the meters as being effective. So you still want to just really reduce the physical, what you can hear on the meter. You want to have reduce the radiation as much as possible. Then you can use one of those types of devices.
Okay. So these are some of the physical. Let's talk a little bit about some of the energetic remedies. And was there anything else you wanted to emphasize before we move to more your energy body type thing?
Yeah, there's one more thing about the cell phone I wanted to mention. If you go into your phone under your I think it's under settings, to the legal statement, they specifically tell you to keep the phone away from you don't want it ever to be here. I think they say it's like a few millimeters, but it's still obviously not enough, but they are telling you in so many words, do not put it on your body. Wow. So you can go in and read that, because I think it's important to read that, because it's under legal and they're telling you. So it's important most people probably never read that. No. So I think that's an important.
No. And some people might think that because they have a drop guard, like a plastic protector,
yeah,
that's not it being on your body. Is that the case? Can this plastic thing mitigate?
So I don't, okay. when I had one remediator here, I showed him my case. It's a case similar to that, but it actually also has a flap that goes over the front of the face. He told me when you open it and only the back is shielded, that's the radiation is actually hitting the shield and coming this way. It's not going through away from you. So it actually could mirror back on you. You know what I mean? It could hit the case that's supposed to be protecting, but it's coming back at you. It's not going away from you. And when this first happened and I was working with a medical intuitive, she said she sees the radiation as water. It's like this. So that's why when you have it in a case like you have, the water can't get out. But if you open it a little bit, the radiation is like water and it's coming out.
Okay.
Which is kind of an interesting vision. I wish I could see it to know. Maybe one day I'll be able to see it, but I don't know. That's just what feels right to me because I can feel it in my case, and my case is not surrounded. I have another case, but just the general case that I have it in that I've had for a while, it's not completely enclosing the phone.
So is that case just a plastic or is it an already remediated?
It is one to remediate. Yeah.
I'm just saying the regular plastic ones that are just.
Oh, okay. No.
People might think, oh, this is protecting me.
No,
the radiation can still go through or the.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing that's not cool about radiation is it goes through almost everything. But one big, like a type of cloth you can use that they sell, for example, on Less EMF that I got, it has silver in it.
Right.
And so it's silver that can help block the EMF. And that's what people use for canopies. Like sometimes people put a canopy over their bed. Yeah. I haven't tried that. I didn't need to, but that is one really great thing to try just to see if it works. Sometimes they have to be grounded. So like in my house, my wall has shielded fabric on it and it has to be grounded. You either have to run a grounding cord outside or you have to run it into your plugs. That's why it's important to have someone who's a professional help you.
Right.
And the canopies should be grounded. Otherwise the electric field can come into it's interesting. So the radiation will hit the canopy can generate an electric field. So it's the electric field you're grounding through your plug if you can have a grounding cord into your third prong. And it's interesting because back in the day, the earthing technologies were really popular. I've tried them. I felt like they've worked. Some people say they don't, but that is one thing to test. Maybe it's to see I used to sleep with an earthing mat. I don't actually have it right now. I don't know if I've needed it, but I just have heard pros and cons about it. So it's really what I learned through all of this is you really get in touch with your body and what its wisdom. It knows you can't listen to other people. It's really about testing and your intuition and that relationship with your body.
Wow.
So
in other words, these silver shielding type things literally need to have a metal conduit that brings that energy that it's receiving into the earth. Otherwise, yes. It's essentially just circulating. Wow. And what did you say was the organization that you could get it from?
It's called Less EMF.
LESS?
LESSEMF.com.
Okay.
They're one supplier. What I think is also great is if you're confused about how to cord your internet, like some people don't know how to cord it anymore. I mean, you can go online and learn, but there's metal boxes that you can put your router in. And I don't know if they sell them, but another lady sells them called Tech Wellness. And you can put your router in there and it basically reduces the Wi-Fi. You can still use it, but the Wi-Fi signal is so strong and it doesn't need to be that strong that you could just even shield just your router, cut down on maybe, I think they say it's at least 80% of the signal. But wow. You still get enough to be able to use devices supposedly.
Okay, excellent. These are all really great pieces of information. And before we talk about how, are you doing any consulting? I mean, are you welcoming correspondence or?
People, if they would love to get in touch with me, yes, I could definitely help. I don't have a specific business set up for that yet, but I'm going to move in that direction.
And you have a lot of information, like you could just have a really good conversation. You're consulting with people for officially for like half hour and an hour sections just over the phone. And then you might, do you have resources that you could direct them to for professionals of how to get that professional remediation in their house?
Absolutely.
You could be like a good first step consultant for people. Okay. How do people get in touch with you?
Oh,
Is there an email address that you'd like to give or anything like that?
yeah, I could give I can give you my my personal email.
Okay. Or if there's a different one that you're going to create through Gmail or something like that after this, like just for these inquiries, perhaps.
Yeah, I could do that too. Yeah. Well, I'm
Yeah,
just gonna.
and you know what we'll do is we can put this under the video.
Oh,
We can
okay.
put that
Okay.
information under the video.
Sure.
Why don't you decide which email address you want to use? You can even create a new one and then get that to me. But before we go, because do you have any web presence right now set up for this?
No.
No, you're
No.
just basically, yeah, you're trying to stay minimal. Before we go, what about on the energetic level? Because I know you're a deeply spiritual person, sensitive to energies, working with subtle being energies and so forth. Are there any energetic remedies that you can suggest for people to be working with their auric field or anything that's not just a device or a physical object?
You know, the one that's still been the strongest for me is still just being in nature. It's just a matter of balance. So I still am trying to find my balance. Like, how much do I need to be out in nature as opposed to being inside? And it's just like night and day when I'm out in nature. I haven't found any replacement for that because I think that all the energies, the physical, the spiritual, are all out there. And
Yeah.
I just feel a huge uplift. That's where my creativity feels like I can get back into the flow. It's just to me like kind of like night and day. And I'm trying to bring that more into my house because my house is very low in radiation, but I have a lot of plants in my house. Music has been a real important component. At the same time I started learning about the radiation, I was also doing sound healing classes. And so what was fascinating to me was about how the both sound healing and the radiation have cumulative effects. So you can help balance the energy by making sure you're having enough like, you know, listening to music you love, or specifically sound healing music. So I feel like that's what it is out in nature, is that there's sound on some level, and it's the healthy sounds that we need for our body, as opposed to what you heard on the cell phone, which is I've heard it too, of course. It's just a very chaotic noise, and our bodies are hearing this chaos even though we don't hear it. I mean, some of us can hear it though, the high pitch.
I can hear it. And I remember being in my house in San Rafael at night, and I can even still tune into it now in remote areas. But super a lot in San Rafael because there were all these houses nearby and Wi-Fi signals. It would be like really, really high pitched. And if you get really quiet, you're lying there in bed, especially at night when everything else has kind of calmed down, you can hear this darn frequency. And it's shocking.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so loud in San Rafael, and I know that was starting to contribute to sleep issues.
Right.
Okay.
Oh,
and it was like, and you realized how much you actually would block it off, and then how easy it was to actually hear it. It was like that really high-pitched version of when we used to have computers that would start in the old days of the computers, you'd hear or and it would make all these sounds
Exactly.
as the computer was going on, as the connectivity was happening. It's the higher pitched version of that.
Right.
So yes, and one thing, and I love the whole nature aspect of it, and that's why it's really important to keep wild nature and not go into these, hermetically sealed environments that they're trying to do, and all the clear cutting is so bad because it's just going to make us completely vulnerable.
Yeah.
And so
There is
another
another
thing,
thing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
another thing that I'm getting is really boost your immunity.
Yes.
And it's going to go hand in hand with the coronavirus remedy, boosting the immunity, anything you can do. There was just a paper that came out that's on my Biolumina Spirulina page. There's a link for how that spirulina can boost your immunity. And so anything that's going to boost your immunity to any kind of disease is going to be helpful for this. And then working with, if you don't have physical gold, try silver, but I think gold is more of a bounce, it bounces it back, not just conducting it, right? And then putting golden light into your auric field. I've been getting that is a big time thing, and seeing your body filled with golden light all the way down to your DNA, that these are part of the frequency adjustments, like really notching up your own frequency to match or supersede the EMF frequencies, so that again, you are less susceptible to it invading your body. Anything else from you?
Yes, just that one thing that has really helped is our stillness meditations. That has been huge
Wow.
because you can, when you have an injury to this situation, to the EMF, there is a point at the beginning where you're afraid to be injured again. You get a kind of a panic thing, and that the meditation can really just help you jump right out of that feeling, because you want to be able to go out. Like, I need to go out and get groceries or go do this or do that, and at some points I just didn't want to go because I knew that I could feel it, and it hurt me, and it would hurt. So
Getting into the calm space,
Yeah.
out of fear, also
Yeah.
raises your vibration
Yeah.
beyond that. And again, lo and behold, isn't that how we also want to deal with the coronavirus?
Right.
Because
And
people are showing that the fear reduces all of your immunities and barriers that are natural in your body, mind, spirit.
And the spirulina I take as well. So I wanted to mention that. And then that at some point, what I realized about a year ago was that the detox is the diet. Like, I used to go detox here twice a year. No, your life is now detox diet is your diet. It's just because you have to flush it out. You don't want to accumulate it. EMF is a toxin. I don't think people understand that it's a toxin too. So your body is detoxing the EMF.
Yes.
Like anything else. And so you want to give your body just, my makeup, obviously these days I'm not hardly wearing any, but all my makeup started to get more health, I bought healthier makeup. I was careful about everything I put on my body, because your body's detoxing anything that you put on it.
Yes.
And then just green drinks I like to do. That helps in the morning.
Yes, and I am now an independent consultant also for the Arbonne product, which are excellent. They're high quality, and they have a higher list of things they will not put in their ingredients than other companies, in terms of like non-toxicity or non-harmful.
Great.
So and there's a whole setup that you can use to, it's a 30-day to healthy living setup, but then it shows you how to maintain that. And I really feel like that's a part of it, where you release certain things from your diet, you add certain things, and then you can tell the feeling immediately, pretty much within a week or so. And I think you're right about makeups that maybe don't have the metallic elements and things like that. Arbonne also has makeup and things like that. So that's just one option. And you know, my website for the store, people want to go there as well. So
Yes, and
are there any other products you might recommend in that regard?
Oh, I can't think of any other products per se, but one thing did come to mind, and that's about hydration. So that's
Okay.
another symptom that people can have, is just hydration, dehydration. Like I would go to the office and I'd be like really thirsty, and it's like, why? And I wouldn't feel like that at home. And so you have to keep hydrated, because the radiation
Okay.
is like dehydrating your body. So I felt suddenly about how a relationship with the elements is so important. With water, you want to tame your fire, because radiation is fire. Ground on the earth, because you need that element. And I mean, so those, it's like I had to have that new relationship with water, make sure I'm hydrated. So many things that can go wrong in people's bodies are about dehydration. And there's that great book about, I can't remember the title right now, but there's a book about how this gentleman who wrote it basically linked so many different um, issues in your body to lack of water. And
So earth, air,
oh,
breathing.
air, yes, you need the breathing to remain calm and not in fear. Yeah.
Right?
And the
Earth, air.
prana, just to have life force energy. Yeah. So it's
Earth,
all
air,
the
fire,
elements.
water. Amplify. And I think the perfect way to conclude this is, hey, if you need a grounding cord to ground EMFs through a silver mesh in your house, you need to ground yourself. And this is an number one practice of all meditators and all, spiritual advanced people. So continuing that visual, physical, energetic grounding cord all the way into the center of Mother Earth, let anything run down her that might be in your field.
Right.
She's going to be taking a lot of EMFs right now. Hopefully she's big enough to handle it, but grounding, literally grounding your body and your feet and legs. So from your torso down all the way into the earth with a big thick cord that's the whole circumference of your abdomen, and each of your legs down through your feet, and regularly going and grounding. And it helps to hold a tree when you're doing that, and just drain it.
Yeah.
Drain it all. So I think this is a really great place to conclude, Jen. This has been incredibly informative. Thank you so much for all the research you're doing. I'm sorry that karmically it's such that you're having to be the canary in the coal.
Yeah.
That we do need, such as yourself, to be sounding the whistle and also to be offering the remedies. Obviously there's a much larger situation, like, do we even want to be having this type of technology at all? But if that's going to be here to stay or get even increasingly vibrationally problematic, then we're going to have to just keep up with the remedies and the recalibrations of ourselves.
Right.
And so maybe in some ways Corona is helping with that, because everything we're doing to prevent viruses is also going to be to prevent this, EMF virus, so to speak, from coming into us. So
right.
Any final words before we say goodbye?
Gosh. Just that when you have the sensitivity, it's a wake-up call to get back to your true nature. It has been such an authenticity type of journey, and it feels obviously very scary at sometimes, but still very happy and joyful, because it's like reclaiming something that in the 3D world you've forgotten. Like, I felt like I had kind of forgotten who I really was. And so it's coming back to like things and what's important.
Blessed be. What a beautiful way to conclude. So thanks again to my guest, Jen Hill. And you'll be hearing more of her. We will provide some links underneath this video. And many blessings on your day. May your vibration be one that supports your health and well-being on every level. Bye for now.